If you are fed up with the router you received from your ISP provider, then you are in the right place. I'm going to record the process of swapping my Sky SR213 router, which is also known as Sky Max Hub, with this GL.iNET Flint 3 device. This video should help you swap any device from any ISP provider to a new device because you will simply see and understand all the steps involved in this process. And by the way, no, it's not sponsored video or anything. This Flint 3 device is a device that I bought myself on eBay, and today it's time to replace that ISP junk with this proper OpenWRT-based device. Flint 3 features like super fast Wi-Fi 7 with a total bandwidth of nearly 10 gigabits per second. That's over Wi-Fi, I mean. It also has advanced privacy and security built in. What I'm talking about, there are things like network-wide VPN, super fast encryption, parental control features, pre-installed AdGuard Home, which is very important. This one will help you block all the ads, trackers, malicious sites on every device on entire home network before this traffic even reaches my screen. And these are just a few of the advantages over standard ISP router, but they should give you an idea of why it's worth swapping your current device for something more sophisticated, like that Flint 3. So let's get started. But before we fiddle with the Flint 3, it's worth logging onto your current device and checking few things, such as your current network setup and your Wi-Fi SSID and password for it. And Wi-Fi SSID, I mean, it's simply a name of the wireless network that you usually connect to at home. And if you never had to connect to your router, you simply check that sticker at the bottom of your current device to find out how to connect to its admin console. Note that this step is not necessary, but if you replicate your current network and Wi-Fi settings on your new router, then all your end devices on your network won't even notice that anything has changed. All your smart bulbs, laptops, Alexa devices, etc., they will continue working as if nothing has happened. Also remember that if anything goes wrong after the swap and you can't figure out why your new router does not connect to the internet, then you can simply swap the routers back. You can connect your old ISP router again, and this will restore all services because we are not going to change anything on a current ISP device. We will just disconnect it, but it's still configured for your existing network and it's ready to be plugged in when needed. But then comes the most important step. You must figure out how your current router gets its public IP address from your current internet service provider. And you need to Google it. For me, I searched for Sky Full Fiber 1 connection for third-party router. I found out that my Sky provider uses a configuration known as DHCP Option 61, which means I need to configure the ClientID on the WAN connection to authenticate and get the public IP address. Fortunately, the ClientID is the same for all Sky users, and the username is anything@SkyDSL, with the password being anything. No, I'm not joking. These are the actual credentials. Anything@SkyDSL, and password is anything, literally. But you will see how to configure it later on. But let's now start from the very beginning. This is the device I'm talking about. As you can see, it's Sky router. It's a very basic device. It doesn't even let you disable DHCP or change any DNS settings. You can't even change the basic settings. So I already know what is my network. It's 192.168.1.0, and I know my Wi-Fi SSID and password for it. So I can now disconnect the current device and connect new Flint 3 router. I simply disconnect the WAN connection. It's one with the purple writing, wide area network, WAN, and you connect the cable to this blue port, which is also one port on the GL.iNET Flint 3 device. And then I connect power cable, and then I have to connect to the admin console on this Flint router. And while you can connect wirelessly, it's not a big deal, but the easiest way is to simply connect an Ethernet cable on the back of the router to any port of those four. This is like a switch, so it doesn't matter which port you connect to. And honestly, the browser sometimes automatically takes you to the website, to the login page, I mean. But even if it doesn't, then you simply type http://192.168.8.1, because .8.1 is the default IP address of the admin console of that Flint 3 router. And because it's the first time I connect to this device, it asks me to set new admin password, which is the password to connect to this device. And this is not to be confused with the Wi-Fi password, okay? This is the admin password to this admin console of this device itself. You have to type it twice and just click next. And here is where you can rename one of those networks to your previous Wi-Fi SSID. If you want to dedicate, let's say, that 2.4 gig SSID to match your previous Wi-Fi, that's where you do that. And if you match also Wi-Fi password, all the devices will automatically connect to this wireless network. But it's up to you. You can come up with new SSIDs, but then you will have to reconfigure your end devices. And if you wonder, well, where is Wi-Fi 7, yes? This device is supposed to have Wi-Fi 7, but I can't see the config for it. Well, we will go back to it later on, but basically Wi-Fi 7 is not like separate field here. Wi-Fi 7 is a technology that uses so-called multi-link operation. Wi-Fi 7 simply bundles all those channels you can see here, 2.4, 5 and 6 GHz, and uses them simultaneously, which means traffic will happen on all those channels at the same time. And if you wonder what is that 160 meg dynamic bandwidth at the bottom, if you should enable it or not, well, it looks tempting. I would first, at this stage at least, leave it alone, because that depends on some other factors as well. You might get double the speed, but you also might get constant disconnections from the Wi-Fi network. So it's something to fiddle with later on maybe. For the time being, I would leave it disabled. That's the default setting anyways. And now we can see my device is already trying to connect to the internet, because we connected the one cable to the one port on the router itself, and it even uses DHCP as a protocol, but it will not connect yet. I mean, not using these default settings. So don't get discouraged if you get error, or you can simply close it even, you can just exit, because you will not get connected. And don't try to change to something like point-to-point over Ethernet and put the username and password there, because it might be tempting, but no, it will not take you anywhere either. Even if you put username and password, this will not work. So we just exit this one, and if we go even to the Ethernet settings for the one connection, you will see some settings, but there is no place where we can put that client ID. Remember, the Sky, my current provider, uses that DHCP Option 61, which means it requires client ID. But there is no client ID field here in this configuration, because here we have only basic configuration mode. What we need to do, we have to switch to advanced settings. And advanced settings are called LuCI. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct. I call it LuCI. But at this stage, it's worth checking if your device is running on the latest possible software version. You can see it in top left corner. For example, my device runs on version 4.8.3. And if I go to the website, which is GL.iNET for that particular router, I can see 4.8.3 is indeed the latest version. But if you bought, for example, a used router and it's running on older version, then I would first upgrade to the latest possible version. And you can find the common upgrade instructions and U-boot instructions in case your upgrade goes wrong, and U-boot simply allows you to recover even after failed upgrade. But that's what I would do. I would make sure first that the device itself runs on the latest version of the software. And only then you go to System, Advanced Settings, and for Modify Advanced Settings with LuCI, you say Install Now. And don't worry, yes, this device is offline, but the package is already on the device, so it doesn't have to be connected to the internet. You can simply click Install Now, and that will install the LuCI advanced configuration. And you now go to LuCI, and the username is root, and the password is the admin password that you configured at the very beginning of this process. I can save the password as well. And here I just go to the network and to the interfaces. And I am interested in the WAN interface. And here, now you can see we've got loads and loads of other configuration for this one interface. But the only one we are interested in is that client ID to send when requesting DHCP. But if you start typing anything, it will tell you it's expecting hexadecimal encoded value, which sounds terrifying, but it's really not. What it really means, we have to take our username and password and we have to convert it to hexadecimal value. So we can Google for something like string to hex or ASCII to hex, and you can use any of those tools. And here, for enter ASCII, we provide the username and then so-called pipe, and then password. So we have to divide username and password. Username is anything at Sky DSL, then pipe, and then anything is the password. We convert it to hexadecimal value and it gives us this long string. However, we will have to remove all the spaces between those numbers. So you simply copy it and then make sure you remove all the spaces. I can even type it here manually, and by the way, yes, it doesn't matter if the letters are small or capital letters. The fact is, they are not even letters, to be honest, they are numbers. The E here is not a letter, it's complicated, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but that's basically hexadecimal system. You basically put whatever was on the previous page, you put it here, but with no spaces. Once you've got it, you leave everything else, you just save it. And now you can see interface has two pending changes. So you have to, on this page, you also have to save and apply. So those changes are applied to the device configuration. And that's it. And you just wait. If you just wait for a while, have a look. Uptime started counting from 0, but what I have IPv4 IP address, which means that change was successful. I am already connected to the internet, and you can already see packets are being sent and received on this interface, on this one interface. And if we go to basic settings, you can now also see here on this page that indeed I've got IP address, I've got the gateway, which is next device up inside the Internet Service Provider network, and I've got DNS servers that I received from Internet Service Provider as well. This is the information you usually do not see on the ISP router at all. They are hidden, because this is the information about their network and how the traffic is routed within the, on the internet side, let's say. And that's basically it. For the internet side, this device is already up and running, and it can connect me to the internet. But now it's the time where I can match my LAN configuration from the previous ISP device, and I can change the settings so all my current devices at home will simply connect to this new device as if nothing has happened. And the first thing I have to change is that IP address, that .8, because my previous device had 192.168.1.1. So I have to change that 8 and replace it with 1. And once you apply that, you can be disconnected for a while, because notice you are now logged on still to 192.168.8.1. But fortunately for my browser, it reloaded automatically and connected me again to the device. But if you are permanently disconnected, you simply have to go to HTTP 192.168.1.1 or whatever IP address you configured here as a router IP address, okay? And when you do that, you will also notice that DHCP server configuration has changed, because it's now also 192.168.1. The third number is 1. And if you want all your devices at home to get IP addresses automatically, you can simply put here the range will be from 2 to 254, but I will configure it for myself. So I will only dynamically assign IP addresses from .2 up till .99, and from .100 up I will be able to configure them statically. So any device that asks this new router for IP address, from now on, it will receive IP address between .2 and .99. But as I said, you can configure the end IP address as .254. That will be full range of IP addresses handed out by this DHCP server. The last thing is that Wi-Fi 7, because interestingly, by default, Wi-Fi 7 is disabled. So you just go to that wireless tab and you enable it. Plus, you can also edit the settings and change the name for that Wi-Fi. I will just append Wi-Fi 7 to the name of that SSID, so I know it's Wi-Fi 7. You can also change the password if you want. Maybe you want to match the password of the other Wi-Fi networks. That's fine. That's where you do it. And just a little hint, here is an interesting thing. You don't even have to type your wireless name, network name and password. This router generates QR codes for every single network, so you can just hover over and you just use your phone's camera to simply connect to any network you want. Every network will have separate QR code, which is a nice little convenience tool. And that's just me. It's my phone connected to Wi-Fi 7, as we can see. And the interesting thing is, as I already said, you can see the transmit link speed. It will show you the separate speeds for every single frequency. Currently I'm around 2 meters from my router, and my link speed is combined speed of all those 3 frequencies. I hope that makes sense. But never mind. I hope I helped you with this configuration, and I hope you were successful, so thank you for watching.